Hi everyone, I'm Richard here and I've just got back from the dentist. The side of my mouth is feeling quite numb. I'm waiting for it to recover before I jump back into work, so I thought what better way than to pass the time than make a video that relies on me being able to talk properly. Bad idea now that I think about it. I've made a video back in December. I called it Before the Wild. It's a feature-length video that basically just amalgamated all the cutscenes that worked from Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity. I revised that and released another one in January, and now today I'm releasing a third cut that took on the feedback from people who said Terrako shouldn't be in it, and that Link should already have the Master Sword. I hear you, I've done it, you can watch it now. I thought I'd make this video as well, just telling everybody how I did it, because I think the process of making movies, is such an interesting topic, and I love doing it, and I really enjoyed doing this process, and I'd like to show you guys how I did it. It's by no means an original idea. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube already of compilations of all the cutscenes that you can watch, like 2.5 hours long. There's a YouTuber called Shigeru Miyamoto. I don't think he's any relation to the Nintendo exec, but he did almost exactly what I've done as well. He's done a great effort of making, it's like a 2-hour long video. He thought of things I didn't even think of, like he has a reversed scene of Link coming out of the Resurrection Shrine. It makes it look like he's going in while Zelda's saying that he needs to go in the shrine. It's brilliant. It's a great idea, and I'm not going to steal it, but I'm jealous that I didn't think of it. So I'm going to show you my process and how I approached this. I basically went into it with a couple of rules. So the first one was that Breath of the Wild is the canon story. I wasn't going to mess with those memories. Those core memories were going to appear in this. The second one was that I could not have any Sheikah shrines appearing. The first time they appear is in Breath of the Wild when Link wakes up and awakens that shrine, and not before. So it was really important that they don't appear in there. And then I think the third rule I had was that Link would find the Master Sword in this cut that I'll be showing you, and that would be the beginning of the second act, or somewhere in the second act of the movie. The other thing I decided to do was cut out, aside from all of the subtitles, all of the background music from Age of Calamity, and it just gave me more room to mix different music and make scenes a little bit more tense. And if I was going to be cutting audio out, you'd notice that all the time that there was a change in music pitch. So I just dropped that all out, remixed it all myself, and it works a lot better that way. I was limited with Breath of the Wild because you can't do the same thing for those memories. So without further ado, let's jump in and look at my reasonings for why I put things where I did. So first of all, I hate this device because I think it's a cheap device in movies, but I chose to have a narrator, and that's King Rome. It works out well in the end. I was just kind of spitballing as I started, but we needed something to keep the pacing up. So I chose King Rome to be the narrator because there's a lot of narration. So the beginning scene of the movie is a mixture of him talking to Link at the beginning of Breath of the Wild and the opening cutscenes where he's narrating what the level's going to be like in Age of Calamity. I was able to splice those together and make it sound like he was talking about things that don't actually happen in that. So if you've got a keen ear, you might notice, you'll be like, he never said that.
However, the Princess of Hyrule's power showed no signs of awakening. Lamenting the kingdom's plight, King Rome sent his daughter to gather pilots for the divine beasts. Zelda traveled to Gerudo Town to speak with her old friend, Urbosa, chief of the Gerudo.
I chose to put the Urbosa memory first and split that in two, and the reason for this is all of the champion ballad memories really could go in any order, with the exception of Mipha's, which I think chronologically makes sense to me at the end, because Zelda is able to tell Mipha that she's already chosen the other 3 champions and also Link. I had to cut that bit out, the Link part in this particular cut.
And also, the Hylian with the sword that seals the darkness.
But I chose to move the Urbosa one forward just because Urbosa is such an awesome character, kind of a mother figure to Zelda, and in this story I had a full-on hair in my mouth. I don't know if you can see that on camera. How long has that been in there for? There's a full-on hair. That's not mine. There we go. That's been in there for a while. I chose to put Urbosa first because I like her. 1. 2, because it felt like having Zelda away from the kingdom during the scene I put in the middle made a lot of sense. And 3, because Zelda's wearing the same dress in this scene as she will be in the scene where she re-enters Hyrule. So it kind of made sense, even though there's a costume change in the middle. Quickly following that, I wanted to put the plight of the kingdom up, so I had the opening scene from Age of Calamity, because I like to see Link as a knight. And we're setting him up to not be the knight chosen to defend her, we're just setting him up to be kind of a grunt that gets in the right place at the right time. We have the introduction of, what's his name, Teriko, and we also have the shrines popping out, so I had to do a little thing here. I had to make it look like there's something happening, and so I chose to put in the scene of the cannons just to explain how they disappeared. And then you got Link looking at Teriko. Now this is a scene that gave me some trouble. I wanted this look, but it didn't work because there's a Sheikah Tower behind him, which you can see if I just remove one of these layers. There we go. So if I remove a layer, where I've done some cropping, you can see that there's, right behind him, there's the tower. And so what I had to do here was a little bit of tricky editing. I can't even remember how I pulled this off, but the tower is actually on his right, and I think I've reversed him. And I've composited that background, so you can actually see this whole background is mirrored. Another really annoying thing that happens in Age of Calamity that you just can't control is the titling for the characters, and every character has this drawn out like 5-second title put in. So like here's an example, Zelda. I had to zoom in on her, but it's saying Zelda. You know who Zelda is, so I didn't see it necessary to have that in. You can remove the hard-coded subtitles, so you can see here I've actually entered in all the subtitles manually myself for any Age of Calamity scene. And that just gave me more freedom, because whoever did the localization, they would dump huge amounts of subtitles in, and if I just wanted to use part of the sentence, the viewer would see the rest of the sentence. I just thought it made sense to just have what I wanted on there. The Tech Lab is a good example of where having your own custom subs is really important, because they just go on and talk about a whole bunch of stuff. They talk about the images that the Guardian has, and that he's potentially from another timeline, and I couldn't have that in there as well. The result made Robbie looked like a bit of a dick in my cut.
I see. That explains why all of us were able to use the Sheikah slate.
In addition, this here doohickey is loaded with data.
I see. That explains...
In addition, this here doohickey is loaded with data.
Then we come to Rivali, and this was a hard decision to make with the new cut I've just done, because I really like the cutscene of Age of Calamity with the battle between Rivali and Link. It really gets heated. So I managed to keep this in. It just makes Rivali look like a total asshole, because there's no explanation about the Harbinger and the whole thing that's going on there. It just shows that he's like really reluctant to join the battle with Zelda, which makes sense with his character a little bit later on. But we just have Link and Rivali having this battle in the blizzard. And what I really liked putting in this was this melody from the Zelda 25th Symphony Orchestra. I think that really set the tune with this kind of battle. That's it's not tense, it's more of a test, and they're kind of challenging each other, and then it gets a bit serious right towards the end of this. And then I thought this bled in really well to the original cutscene to get us to the training ground where Rivali like retreats. Instead of him practicing, he's retreating, but he's injured, and that's why this happens, rather than him being... I don't know if it takes anything away from the scene or not, but I liked having that transition. And then we cut to Daruk, and this was an interesting one to get my head around as well. So what I did was, in the original Champion Ballad scene, Zelda's walking along and she's escorted by a couple of knights, which you can see in this shot here. This is the original Champion Ballad, and they're wearing the helmet and everything. So what I did was I put Link in the helmet just so it looks like he's one of these escorts, and then they kind of blend together nicely. But it does feel like the scene's all over the place the way it is, and I like it better in the new cut where Link's not part of the scene yet. It was just accommodating Link in there was a little bit tricky. And then straight after we jump straight to Zora's Domain with this conversation with King Dorephan, who is the slowest talker in any Zelda cutscene. He's just so slow. But it was nice to establish this kind of relation with Link and Mipha in these early stages of the cutscenes. I like this Hyrule Garrison scene because you get to see the champions actually talking to each other, and that's cool, so that brings it back a little bit. The Korok Forest scene is cool. I like it because it establishes, it's the first time we get to see in this particular movie our main antagonist, whose name is Astor, but ultimately that doesn't add anything. You get to meet Hestu, but he doesn't do anything at all. He's in there for one scene and he disappears. It doesn't matter.
Thus were Zelda and the others witness to the immense capability of the knight who seals the darkness.
This was a tricky scene pacing-wise, where Link gets a sword and then Astor disappears. So the way I've kind of put it together is I got this shot of the champions looking on, and I put in some audio of Link fighting, and I cut together King Rome's speech. That's where Zelda and the others witnessed the immense capability of the knight who seals the darkness. I think thus Zelda and the others were witness to the immense capability is actually about Urbosa using Vana Buris, and then the knight who seals the darkness is from another part of a different cutscene, and I put them together, these two segments here, and that's just an example of where I could use the king's speech. That's a movie reference to make him say what I wanted. And that's how propaganda is made.
Link, he's become so much stronger.
And yet I have not. I presume that's what you're thinking?
I really love this conversation between Zelda and Urbosa. It kills me that I couldn't use it in my final Snyder's Cut version. It's set aside from another level, but it works really good close together as well. It kind of just helps sow the seeds of doubt of how Zelda is now feeling bad in this particular version. Then you cut straight to the ceremony. This is one of the only shots that I color graded. It normally looks like this in Breath of the Wild, but I had to make it look a little bit more purpley so it would be more in tune with the Age of Calamity scene as well. So if you're going from this to this, you'd know there was a difference. And that's where I did a bit of color grading. And then the scene here of Rivali leaving is the motivation for Link and Zelda to go to Rito Village and have a chat with him. And then you get to see them doing the rounds. This is where we bleed in a lot more to the Breath of the Wild memories, just all going in their consecutive order.
But Father, if you allow me to uncover the meaning behind such relics, I believe it could help us to...
It seems that you are avoiding your duty. I will allow it, for now. But do not forget your mission. Zelda headed to the Gerudo Desert on a mission to investigate some unusual relics.
And so the idea is that she's kind of gone out on her own, and then Link's come to find her, and that's why she's upset that he's here. And then the scene that got me a lot of controversy. Like I said, I like Urbosa. I think she's one of the best champion characters. She's definitely the most interesting, and her and Zelda have the best conversations. And it's really sweet and sad that, you know, Zelda doesn't have a mother and sees her as a mother figure and all that. So I think that's something that is interesting to explore. At the beginning of Age of Calamity, spoiler alert, there's always either a enemy invasion or some sort of insurrection happening when you're going to meet the four champions. And with the Gerudo, they've been turned. Urbosa has told them to go and stop Zelda from getting there. And so you like literally murder hundreds of Gerudo on your way to meet Urbosa. It kind of doesn't flow well here, but I hope people get the idea that some time has passed and then all of a sudden they're attacked and they don't know why. And so they go to meet Urbosa to find out why she's doing it. And you find out Urbosa is actually boom boom boom, our antagonist, Master Koga, and then you get the standoff scene.
Yiga, assemble! Me excluded, of course.
What?
The reason I've left this in, the main reason, aside from it being an awesome scene, is that it gives us a reason for us to bleed from this scene in Gerudo Town to the scene where Zelda's being attacked. It gives that pacing, which wouldn't have existed before. It would have been really random. So I decided to keep that in both cuts. And this scene, which is the original recruit scene here. So in these scenes, Link is actually present, but he's hard-coded to have his original uniform on, so I couldn't put him in. There you go, you can see Link there. He was standing in the background the whole time. So I had to cut him out because you can't change these cutscenes to change their costume. And I also had to make it so you couldn't see Urbosa was wearing the black as well. And then you got to see something in Age of Calamity that I wanted to put in that you didn't see in Breath of the Wild. And that's Zelda going to the Fountain of Courage, which is a cool scene, but ultimately it is just an echo of her being in the Fountain of Power from Breath of the Wild. It's just, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail.
Prayer will awaken my power to seal Ganon away. Or so I've been told all my life. And yet, Grandmother heard them. The voices from the spirit realm. And Mother said her own power would develop within me. But I don't hear or feel anything. All of the research into the relics, if I cannot awaken to my power, will have been in vain. Everyone else is carrying out their duties with such grace.
And she gets this pep talk, a weird pep talk from Impa in the original cutscene. It's really weird.
Princess Zelda. Why not? Let's go take a break somewhere. I've gotten really... suddenly I'm really hungry.
And then there's a fight scene, and then she has a good scene. I've managed to splice them together and make the pep talk a little bit more cohesive.
Princess Zelda. You said that you are the only one who can't live up to your potential. But that's completely untrue. All of your effort, your research, is not in vain, Princess.
There's just no more time.
With all the memories, they have a tendency to have this weird filter come over them really quickly. See this weird filter that pops up, it's Link's retina or memory returning. And Zelda saying, what's wrong with me? You know, it was a really powerfully delivered line, and it's ruined by this filter. So what I've done is I've gone in-game, filmed myself at the Fountain of Power, and had Link turn around and look at an item I dropped in the fountain so that it looks like he's looking at Zelda, because he turns around in that scene as well. It's really nice, but I didn't like that filter that they put on, and I can't remove it, so I've done that. And then this beautiful scene here. So this one took a lot of music mixing because what I wanted was to expand out those moments of Zelda being upset. So I found the soundtrack for the memory, and you can see what I've done here is the correct pauses. I've had a constant power filter, which just keeps that audio tracking along. So if you play it, you actually will hear the song bleed back into the same sort of chorus again. And then we bleed back into the scene where Zelda's talking.
Divine beasts, the guardians, they've all turned against us.
This one I didn't do a blend because I managed to time it perfectly, and because there's sound in the background, you don't really notice it jumping from one track to another.
Turned against us.
So there's a lot going on in that scene to get that working. And then here in Fort Hatino, there's a little bit of discrepancy with Zelda being muddy and not muddy. But I was able to splice together these scenes of this battle starting, Link's sacrifice. It's a little bit more meaningful when you can see that he's fighting these giant blights, all four at once, rather than just the Guardian. But if you played the game, the Guardian's completely reasonable. If I just cut this out, you can see there's Link. What I've done is the scene in the background I've made bigger so that the portion of the sky is nice and big. And then I think with this one I just put in a crop. And I cropped him out. Where's the crop? Mask path. Yeah, I cropped out where Link's standing so you can't see him. So he is there in Age of Calamity, but not in the final cut, so Zelda looks alone. And I've started, again, you get that annoying filter at the beginning of any cutscene, so I've started Zelda's audio from where she's with the Master Sword in the Korok Forest, and I've overlaid it here of her looking at what she's giving up, what's left. And it makes the pacing, it starts the pacing really well, that we're jumping from one location to another, because the story starts culminating here, and the choice to use King Rome as a narrator really starts to make sense. And honestly, I get goosebumps every time I see this. I think my son's wearing my wife's high heels up there. That's annoying. Every time I watch this I get major goosebumps. We get Zelda. This is like a lot of mixture of Age of Calamity and Breath of the Wild, so let me see if I can remember it all. That's Breath of the Wild, that's Age of Calamity, and Age of Calamity, that's Calamity Ganon after he's absorbed Asta. And then here, that's Age of Calamity, that's Breath of the Wild from King Rome Boss Veratu, whatever his name is, his flashback. And then that's Age of Calamity. I love that scene of her saying she must protect everyone. Age of Calamity. And then we go into a slow-mo shot. And then this is where the viewer will notice that you hear she still calls out for your help. I'll put in Wake Up Link. It starts to bring people back to the first thing we heard when Breath of the Wild's first proper trailer launched. I'm getting... to be like, oh, this is where the story catches up to us. Which absolutely it does. And then you've got Link, boom, wearing all the terrible stuff I could find on the Great Plateau. I made this decision to put him in here like this, and I was like, I'll just start a new game and run around. And thought that looked cool. Why did he have a bow and a spear? He didn't need a bow. Alright, and that's pretty much the whole movie. Which I really enjoyed putting together. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching it. That's the main thing, is I made this for me and my kids to watch, and it's got a really good response. I'd like to know what you guys think of the new cut that tries to make it a little bit more canonical to Breath of the Wild for those hardcore fans, and a little bit easier to watch because it's half an hour shorter. I'm starting to get some feeling back in my mouth, which is good. So I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about this process, if you like making videos and stuff like that, keen to talk about it, just chuck your questions in the chat. I always check the comments, and I'll see you guys around for the next video that I have to make to pay for my dentist bills, which yeah, it's getting up there. You know, this is some serious stuff going on in this whole orifice. Thanks for watching.
Whatever I can, as I am right now, even if all I have to give is my faith that things will work out. This is the thread that I've been following all this time.
You are where you need to be.
You'll be needing my unique skills.
You have not changed.
I suppose destiny is at work.
She gets frustrated every time she sees you carrying that sword on your back.
I've pleaded to the spirits tied to the ancient gods. And still the holy powers have proven deaf to my devotion.
Hyrule's king chose us.
In the name of Calamity Ganon, you and I are bound.
Out of respect for our princess, you may keep your lives.
You are the knight to Princess Zelda. I trust that you understand your duty.
All of your effort is not in vain, Princess!
About this pathetic knight in your service, are you sure he's got what it takes?
Young hero, you have been chosen by the sword